The thing I enjoyed most about placement was the reality of going into a social work position that was already in existence and rolling and happening by the time I got there. It was very nerve-wracking turning up on the first day. The team were absolutely brilliant, and it was the interaction with the team that I was working with in the social services department, the multidisciplinary team that were running the hospital. And then the best thing of it all, though, was actually getting time to spend with the patients, and even more than that, with the patients' families, because we got to spend a lot of time actually doing proper social work that took into account all the holistic differences and the little things that would make a difference to them for when they were going to be discharged. The most challenging case that I came up with on placement was a particularly complex case where we had a lady came into the rehab ward. At that time, her capacity was deemed to be just in the middle, and nobody would give a diagnosis one way or the other. It was very hard for me to communicate with her, and what I was trying to do was communicate with her family. Now, her family hadn't been able to get up to the hospital to see her at all. There was mobility problems and communication problems. So whilst they couldn't come up, I couldn't communicate with them over the phone either. So what I had to do was kind of push the boundaries slightly. And for that, I had to go and get permissions from different people, including the community, who would normally have looked after anybody who was outside of the hospital. Once I had made my case, which I did make quite strongly, I have to say, once I had made my case and everybody accepted that I was doing this and it was for the benefit of the service user who was in the hospital, I did actually get to leave the hospital, push the boundaries a little bit, went out to see the patient's family. We had various methods of communication. It was by far the most challenging case because of the complexities within it and because I had to push the boundaries a bit. But it was also by far the most rewarding case because it did all fall into place at the end, and the service user was discharged safely into her family and the community, and everybody was happy at the end of it. One particular case that stands out for me more than the majority of the cases was an elderly lady who came into hospital after having a fall. She was in quite a bad way physically. But that wasn't my position. Obviously, she was well looked after in that regard. I spent quite a lot of time talking with her and realised there was a problem with her leaving hospital, and it wasn't to do with having carers or the physical help of it. It was to do with the fact that her husband had died 2 weeks previous to her fall. How she had had the fall was trying to climb to the top of the wardrobe to get belongings of his to put into the bed beside her because she was lonely and had never slept on her own before, and this was a lady who was 84 years of age. It was a very complex case. There was everything that social work that you would ever want as a social work student involved within the case, and the external family ties and the complexities of it all. But what really got me was that I felt for her vulnerabilities because I had recently lost a very close relative who had lived with me for a long time in similar circumstances. And it was more how I could be available to the service user emotionally without bringing my own emotions with me and getting tied up in my own grief and bereavement. So it was definitely a very interesting personal experience. The one tip that I would give to anybody going to the placement that I was on was don't be nervous. I was eaten up with nerves before I went, and when I got there, the social work team were absolutely brilliant. They were completely welcoming, more than happy, really generous to share their knowledge, even working within the multidisciplinary team and the doctors, the staff nurses and the consultants. Once they realise that you're there, you're serious about why you're there, you're going to do what you say you're going to do, and that you have some knowledge behind you, you do get treated with respect, you are given your place. And it's an absolutely brilliant experience. I would recommend that particular placement to anybody.